Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time for Alex. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics or whatever, it may take a bit to get to it because I'm decently backed up, but I'll do my best. But if you still wish to, you can send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a film called Violent Cop from 1989, which I had never heard of. It's directed and stars a guy named Takeshi Kitano, who I guess at the time was a comedian. And when this movie was first going to be made, it was supposed to be a comedy. And the guy said, no, I want to stretch by acting. So I want to do a bit more of a serious cop film. I guess this had another director, but the way this guy, because he was actually a pretty, just, bit of a famous comedian overseas. So he wanted it filmed more of a simple way, little rehearsal, one takes, and the director's like, I can't do this. And then someone said, well, do you want to direct it? Sure, how hard can it be? And this just is not my cup of tea. I don't know if I'm going to sit here and say it's a bad film. This isn't my cup of tea. Because really, I know this is unfair because this came out before, but it just felt like a lesser version of Bad Lieutenant. Idea it's not fair because Bad Lieutenant came out after this. But you have a cop who he's bit off the beaten path. And maybe Bad Lieutenant's the wrong choice of words because Harvey Keitel's character was more into drugs. He's a little bit more of a dirty cop. You wouldn't really call this guy a dirty cop. He's just, a cop on the edge that just goes too far in other avenues. So, again, maybe that's not the right call. But I kept thinking Bad Lieutenant where it's trying to be, I don't want to say nihilistic, but it's trying to be a bit more gritty, grim. Just something about it reminded me of that. And I don't mind Bad Lieutenant. Just something about it reminded me of it. I can't quite put into words. Because the guy, Kitano, I don't mind him, acting-wise. I knew I recognized him. He's actually in Battle Royale. He's one of the teachers. And he has a nice, fun little moment at the end. Like a water pistol thing, but if you've seen Battle Royale, you know who I'm talking about. But he was good in that, and he's been in other stuff too. I think he was in Ghost in the Shell, the one with Scarlett Johansson. But pretty much, like I said, he's a cop who will do tough interrogations. Like the very beginning, this homeless guy gets beaten up by these kids. And then the next thing you know, the cop is knocking on the door, the mom lets him in. It'll be just a sec. He goes up, and he slaps the shit out of the kid. Slaps the shit out of him, so that the next day the kid turns himself in. And he has a sister who's intellectually challenged, who he takes care of. He has a new partner. His superiors kind of like how he does things, a bit secretly, but maybe he'll write apologies. He'll try to keep as much of a good facade as he can. But it just seemed at times a film I've seen before, a movie that's about a cop. But it's not trying to be the typical Lethal Weapon type of action film. It's trying to do something a bit different and a bit darker, but I've seen that quite a few times before. I mean, even the first Dirty Harry, or it's not a cop, but a Death Wish film, or again, this is a criminal doing it, but Teen of New York, which came out after this. And the direction didn't really impress me like it's done to a lot of critics. I really don't get the. There's a couple decent shot uh, photography points showcasing the city. Or there's one point where the cop's sitting there and he's beating up a suspect, and the way the camera has it where he's in the perfect position, he has a hand behind him with a gun, and he's looking at the audience, but he's looking at the suspect, pretty much saying, "Go for the knife. I want you to go for the knife." So I could. He doesn't do that, but that's the idea. I don't mind that scene. I don't mind the opening scene. And the lead guy, again, he has a good look, presence. But other points, like you have one of the most boring foot chases in a cop movie. I'm sure that's supposed to be one of the intonations about taking a typical cop film and doing something different because they'll say something about violence, and but it still ends up being a very boring foot chase because they try to bust this baddie, he gets away. There's done this slow motion that didn't look that great. Then the guy gets a baseball bat and hits a random cop in the head, a little bit of blood spray. And for a movie called Violent Cop, there are violent moments, but it's not as violent as you would think with a title like that. Like with Violent Cop, you think there's going to be... I mean, you pick a John Woo film, it's... Well, especially early John Woo film, it's more violent than this. Like Bull in the Head. Go watch Bull in the Head, you'll see a fuck more violence than this. But it has his moments. But I'm watching, it's like... I know this has a big reputation. I guess I don't really get it. It just seemed like, okay, he's got on the edge. We'll slap the shit out of suspects. This cop he knows, supposedly supplying the bad guys. When he's found out, he hangs himself. Our lead cop says, no, he didn't hang himself. It's not suicide, it's something else. So he interrogates bad guys. He'll plant evidence. He's gone too far, they fire him. And, goes on from there. Spoilers, I gotta get into spoilers, I'm sorry. His sister got kidnapped, drugged, and she's getting raped. And she doesn't do anything because she's been drugged. So she's an intellectually challenged character who's been drugged and she's getting raped. And maybe that's what people talk about, the grittiness, the bleakness, nihilistic nature. To be perfectly honest, that's not usually my cup of tea in terms of movies. Again, there are exceptions. King of New York, for example, I liked. You call that nihilistic, but I liked it because I liked the direction better. The cast, especially, mainly the cast is the reason I liked that movie. Here, I mean, the lead guy is fine, but, that's pretty much it. Again, there's moments that work. I mentioned the opening. There's a bit where this hitman tries to kill the lead cop and tries to stab him, and the cop grabs a knife. The guy brings up a gun and the lead cop hits it, and the gun goes off and kills a random civilian, shoots her right in the head. Like, ooh, shit. And then the cop just runs away. So I'm like, okay, this guy's not really that great of a person either, because he doesn't check to see if, to help. Obviously the girl's dead, but there's a guy screaming and you could do something. But he runs off. I guess that's the point, is that, he's a cop, he's a violent cop, but just how the duality of good and evil, light and dark, all that jazz. the emotionless of violence, and that takes into play because it gets to a point where the lead guy doesn't talk anymore. And when violence happens, he's very lack of emotion, which I'm sure is a big point of it. And I found it funny when you cut to the bad guys. Like the one guy has like 3 or 4 thugs and they were raping the cop's sister. He knows the cop's gonna go there. And so these other 3 want to leave and he shoots one. The other guy, he shoots like 4 times point blank range and still doesn't kill the guy. He hit the guy, this hitman, but the guy's, sitting there, and literally this bad guy is like this far away. He's like this far away from him. Pew, 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 pew. And I did hit the guy twice, but I guess on the side. And the guy was still able to get a shotgun and shoot him. I'm like, what are you doing to fucking stormtrooper school? I mean, I just technically you hit something, but you're that fucking close. No kill shot? They're like, what the fuck? But I guess it runs in that group because then the hitman's wounded. The cop comes in. He unloads like both guns. He wounds the cop a little bit. But you think with 2 guns, you'd be like, pa, 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 pa. Just not. Again, he wasn't even that far away. And then the cop shoots him. And then there's his sister. I guess because he thinks his sister is so far gone with drugs. Because she's like looking for the drugs in the hitman's pockets. The cop shoots his sister. And I'm like, you never heard of rehab? Never heard of detox? Or you don't tell me, oh, because she's mentally challenged and is a druggie, she can't be helped? I go, you didn't even try, dude. Like, you just found your sister, and literally within a matter of 30 seconds, you go, yeah, I'll kill her. I'm like, again, never heard of rehab, never heard of detox. It's supposed to be like, oh, this guy's so far gone, but they didn't really make it seem like, oh, it's this guy's so far gone that he killed his own sister. It just, they made it seem as, oh, the girl's too far gone. He's going to put her out of her misery. I went, really? Really? That's where we're going with this? I mean, even in 89, I think there were these things called rehab centers. Even if you're mentally handicapped, I think you could still manage that, but fuck do I know. What do I know? So then he walks out and then gets shot in the head. Because this other guy was pissed that the cop killed his boss. And then tried to be artistic where the dead body of the cop, while everything else is dark, he's in the light. Symbolism, do you get it? The duality of light. Because the cop, he's got the light around him, but everything else is dark. I'm like, the cop's not much of a good guy either. I don't care if he's dead. He killed his sister without giving two fucks of a rehab center. A civilian died. He didn't even give 2 fucks about her. So, fine, let him die. And then it ends with the guy's partner, who's the new partner near the beginning. He's now going to work for the bad guys. Just like the one cop who hated himself was working with the bad guys. Now he's going to work with the bad guys. So really, it was all for naught because the bad guys are still around, at least a new boss. You have a new dirty cop. So since the old dirty cop was found and hanged himself. And this violent cop just went there to get his sister, shot his sister because I guess she was too far gone, was wounded, probably would have died of his wounds, then he gets shot in the head. I'm like, again, I'm sure it's supposed to be some big point about the duality of cops and criminals, try to be off the beaten path of cop movies. You want to call it safe and cliche, fine, but those cliches are Lethal Weapon or even the Dirty Harry movie and its sequels a hell lot more satisfying to watch for me than this. And even if I want off the beaten path, I'd rather watch Bad Lieutenant and King of New York because I get more out of their visual style. I get more out of their direction. I get more out of the actors, the characters. This didn't do much for me. I'm sorry it didn't do much for me. Like I said, there's a couple scenes separate on its own I don't mind. 3 or so of them. I mentioned the beginning. I'll mention the... Well, I already mentioned them. I just repeated myself. So, if you love the film, good on you. You don't get it, fine. I don't care if I get it. That's my point. I have no interest in getting it. I'll go watch Bullet in the Head and He Will Shed No Tears and The Killer and Hard Boiled with John Woo. I'll go watch Crime Story and some of these other movies with Jackie Chan. I'll go watch The Street Fighter with Sonny Chiba. I'll go watch other movies of that take. Just, that's more my cup of tea. Oh, what was the one I saw that... I'm trying to remember the name of it. I reviewed it. It was... Damn, I got the visuals in my head, but I can't remember the damn name for it. I said it to someone had a... This is off tangent. I did a video like, what are some of the films I liked that was part of my requests. And I mentioned there was an Asian film. At one point, the guy who was a cop, I think he wants to be like a writer of a movie. I remember it had some inventive action in it. And maybe this is what really happened, but no, that's really... Yeah, I'm being really fucking vague. It's don't bother me. I'd have to look it up, but... There are quite a bit of Asian cinema I like. This is just not one of them. So, if you liked it, cool on you. Not for me. So, I mean, To Live and Die in L.A. kind of did that. Honestly. But you think about, spoiler, To Live and Die in L.A., the lead cop was going too far. He got killed. And the partner, he didn't go with the criminals, but he's now on the darker path. But I thought that was done, again, with more visual style, with a crazy car chase. Have better or more interesting actors. Yeah, more style with William Friedkin's direction. And even that ending was more for me to ease into than this. To Live and Die in L.A., another cop movie I'd rather watch. So, yeah, with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.